today's tutorial, we're just using a single strobe with a shoot-through umbrella and a single light stand. A kit like this will set you back probably around 200 bucks. So I've got a YN562 RF603 triggers and a shoot-through umbrella on my light stand, just so you know. Right. So today we're going to work through how to get it all set up, how to do it. So first thing we do is we put our camera into shutter mode because we want to find out what our ambient is, and we put our camera onto our sync speed, which I'm going to do on 1/200th of a second. And metering for that, it tells me in shutter priority, ISO 100, it tells me I need to be at f4. So I'm going to flip my camera over to manual and change my settings to match that. ISO 100, f4 at 1/200th of a shutter speed. This is the my classic rope meter by Don Giannetti, which I'll have the link on here so you can find out how to build this. But basically this is telling me f16, f8, f5.6 and f4. So what was my manual setting? f4. So this is set up at 1/8 power, 50mm on my strobe. So if I hook this over here, take this out for a second. Hook this over here, 1/8 power, 50mm. So f4, so I need to bring that in a little bit closer. So if I bring that into there and bring my knot to where Maddie is, that is now at f4, because our flashes do the same thing every single time. So if I just lower this down, okay Maddie, you ready to shoot flies? If you want to have a look at that, that is at f4. Hang on, with no flash. That's fine. Let's try that again, Maddie. There we go. And now at f4. But the only problem is I've got lots of shadow on the side. But Maddie, if I zoom in there, is almost perfectly exposed in the skin.
Well, don't zoom in then.
Sorry?
I said don't zoom in then.
Now the reason why that was harsh is because I had no diffuser. So if we put that on there, I'm actually taking light away. I'm going to be losing light. With a shoot-through umbrella, you lose about 1 stop of light. So if we go back to my rope meter, so that f16, I've lost a stop. Now I need to open it up a stop. So f16 would be f11, f8. So 1 stop there would be 5, 6. So f4 now would become 2/8. So so that now is at 50mm at 1/8 power, and we need to open it up a stop. So that would be f4, open it up 1 stop. Should be 2/8. So we haven't moved it. So let's find out. We're still at 1/8, 50mm, and I need to open it up. So I've opened it up to 2/8. It's perfectly exposed, and my shadow's gone because I put the diffuser on there. So as I said, I'd programmed this to be f4, but I lost the stop, so I opened my camera up a stop, so it now becomes f4. What I could do, I could change, if I brought Maddie away from the wall and brought her out, I could adjust my shutter speed, and that would darken those bricks behind her. At this stage, because she's so close to that brick wall, it's virtually the same exposure. If you think about it, inverse square law, go from half to that, so now you only lost a stop in that distance. You lost half a stop in that distance. So between her and the wall there's only half a stop. So I'm actually getting at 200, I'm getting 3.5. On the spot meter. So yeah, I've just dropped it to 125th, and yeah, it gives me F4 at 125th power, which is okay because I'm so close. So still at F4, I'm going to change my change it, and at 1/200 it's telling me that I need to be at 3.2. So I'm going to actually bump up my ISO to 1/200, and now I'm meant to be at F5. So ISO 200, I'm at F5. So this flash, remember, is set up for ISO 100. So if I've opened it up to ISO 200, I've increased the power by 1 stop. So that F16 now becomes F22. That F8 now becomes F11. That F56 is now 2.8. Because I've opened up my ISO, I've actually effectively increased the power of my flash without actually increasing the power of my flash. But if I put my umbrella back on, I'm losing that stop. So I've bumped up my ISO, gained a stop, put on my umbrella, lost the stop. So I brought us back as if we were in bare volt mode, which means my rope meter is still accurate. So I'm at F5, so I'm going to put it at 5.6, F16, F8, F5.6. Perfect. Put my umbrella back in, because otherwise I'll be overexposed by a stop. I'm still at 1.8 power. I'm still at 50 mil. I haven't changed anything. I'm still at my sync speed of 200, but now I'm at 5.6 at ISO 200. Done exactly the same thing. So I've got my rope. I've worked out by putting myself in shutter priority. I've managed to work out what aperture I want to be set at, and I've balanced it to do that. But if I wanted to, so that's what we call exposure. But what if I wanted to make her a little bit darker? So from there, I just need to stop down on my flash. So I'm still at 200, and why won't you change? Right. So now I'm going to be shooting at, I'm going to bump it up to 6.3, which means, ready? So now the brickwork is still exactly the same exposure. Actually, it's a little bit darker because we are getting some flash on there, but and Maddie is a little bit dark, which I actually prefer. In the photo. In the photo. It's easy, isn't it? If I wanted to make Maddie brighter, I wouldn't want to open that up past F5. So yeah. So because I just bump this up to say 1/4 power. Upper stop on my strobe. And now Maddie's a lot brighter. Yep. Under. But I haven't changed my camera, so I can control her with my aperture. So how bright Maddie is with my aperture. I control my background with the shutter, but in this case we're not with the little gap here. There's not much fall off. So, but when the sun sets, we'll have a look at that, and that's when you'll really notice the difference. How you can make the sunset really pop using the shutter, and get Maddie just perfectly exposed where you want her. So once I've run out of aperture, I just use my flash. I'm at 1/8 power, so that flash there goes down to 128 power, so I can really drop that right down, or at 1/8 power I can bump it up. That's why we go 50 mil, 1/8 power. So we can also increase it by zooming the head. So if I wanted to light more of this brick wall, I could loosen stops. So if I put it at quarter power, leave it at quarter power, which is one stop over, but then zoom out to 35 mil, I've actually balanced it out. So I'm throwing more light, wider light, but I'm getting less of it. So if I go back to my F5, so if you can borrow a light meter, you just set the rope up from where your flash is and trigger your flash until you find F8 with the light meter. If you haven't got a flash, you set up the grey card, put the flash, set up a grey card there, set your flash next to your camera and shoot until you hit F8, and all you're looking at is your histogram, and you want a dead set spike right in the middle because you're shooting middle grade, because you fill the frame with that grey card so there's no other light in there, and you'll get a spike perfectly in the middle to find your F8. And the YouTube and the video for that is on YouTube. I did that yesterday.
Right, cool.
So I didn't have to run through it today.
Yeah.
Well, what you need to remember is when you're doing Strobist work, you haven't got that much to worry about. You've got your aperture, which really is only between 2.8 and 8. So what are we talking about there? 4 stops?
Yeah.
And then shutter speed is maxed out at 1/200, and if you're shooting handheld, you're only talking between 1/100 and 1/200, so you haven't got that much control there. So the biggest control you've got is with your ISO and your flash itself. But as long as you know how to control those basic settings, you haven't got that much to remember. It's just a matter of remembering how to put it all together. So what do we need to do? Figure out our composition and our shot.
Yep. Put in the shutter mode and 50 mil. Go down there and see what it tells you.
Well, shutter mode, you look at it, you're setting your shutter speed.
I think yours was at 4. 200.
So you got the D7000 like me, which can actually do 1/320. But I aim for 1/200, and the reason I always go for 1/200 is because you'll find a variance between some strobes. Like if you go to Hazard Studios and use his E3000 strobes, you might find your shutter plane starts to creep in at 1/250.
I found that.
And also when for the sake of the teachings here, Canon shooters generally can't shoot faster than 1/200 sync speed either. And in some speed, who was it? Someone, yeah, yours, wasn't it? Well, when we did the one down the river, even though his camera is 1/200, if he gets up 160, he gets the shutter plane start to.
My other Canon did the same problem at one point.
So, yeah, and in the studio environment, you don't care about ambient. So all you need to do is worry about freezing the motion, which 1/60th will do. So. And shutter speed has nothing to do with your strobe. It's only for the syncing of your strobe, not the power.
Then you'll know you have to flash.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And with the D7000, I've actually managed to get up to 400th of a second.
You got too hard. The last studio with the strobe, and what is wrong? And Michael, your sync speed is too hard.
So do you know how to? Do everybody know how to take a meter reading?
Follow how you did, yes.
So you put in shutter priority at 1/200.
There, and they'll tell you F4 200.
Yeah, so you just half press the shutter and just look at, I don't know, in our viewfinder it's on the bottom of the viewfinder, but
manual mode, put it on there.
On those exact settings.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Or you could, if you didn't have a rope, you could use the light meter.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, that's right. You do exactly the same thing. You'd put your flash where you're thinking you want it to go, and then you'd find where you find your meter, and then you know if it's telling you to shoot at 5.6, you need to take it away because you want to open up. If it's telling you to shoot at 2.8, you know you need to bring it in closer because it's too close. It's too far away, so you need to open up the aperture to get that light. So guys, if you want a Strobist kit, a complete kit to get you going, $850. That's 3 YN 562s, 3 stands, 2 60x90 Bowens mount softbox, 2 booms, 2 5-in-1 reflector, a 5-in-1 boom arm, 3 shoot-through umbrellas, 3 reflective umbrellas. Visit carasiusproductions.com.au. So the further your light is away from the subject, the quicker it starts to fall off. So if I'm shooting you with the light right here, the fall off behind you, the light will keep going and travelling. As I move that away, that light behind you starts to drop off. And in actual fact, the further away, you can lose the difference between the end of the nose and the eye could be a stop. So that's the inverse square law.
Right.
Some scientific,
Oh, is that
mathematical
the one they were talking about 1 over d squared?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I read
So-
something and then I kept going.
Yeah.
Too mathematical.
Yeah. So that's the inverse square law. So, which this just shows it spells it out.
Yeah.
So, and as I said, as you get,
And this
you
is
know,
one of the ones that you made up from the person you were talking about before.
correct, Don Gianatti Wiswell.
Right.
The link's on the video. So that's 1/16th, and that now becomes 1/22. So look at the difference between and then 1/16 and 8. F16 and F8, but F16 to F22 is only that much. So your fall off starts to get. You guys are home. Shutter priority, 1/200th of a second. The sky is saying 7.1, so I'm going to put it on manual mode at F8. F16, F8. Which is there. Make sure I'm at 1/8 power, 50 mil. Just going to bring it around just to get more light in the face. But my settings aren't changing. And now I'm going to open up my shutter a bit just to let more light into the background. And that's it.
Yeah.